Right, welcome back everybody. It's been a few weeks now since my last video, and this is I have a couple of videos that I'm going to be making over next couple of days. This one is a request. I've had quite a few requests on the videos that I did for the Anycubic Mega Pro. Now obviously when I did those videos, when I first got the machine, I made some improvements, and the improvements were on the Z-axis screw rods, and I put anti-backlash on. Now I stated on the video that I did that I purchased a couple of the rods and the Z-axis screws as a kit. I paid about, I think it was about £8 or something for them. Now I've since found out you can buy the actual anti-backlash screws without the rods separately, but it's up to, I didn't take the chance for what it cost that the rods or the threads on the rods wouldn't match. I didn't want them not to match the threads that were on the machine. I mean, it turned out that I used the rods that came with the machine, so that wasn't a problem. But obviously I did go into a little bit of detail what I replaced, but not how to replace them. I mean, obviously I'm not going to strip things down, but I'll just go through what you have to do. So just bear with me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move the camera now so that you can see close up. You won't see me obviously, but it will show what you have to do in order to replace these, and it's really simple really. You just need a few extra items, so just bear with me and I'll be back shortly. Right, here we are back again. I've just moved in a different position, so bear with me. Just explaining that this here is the one that came with the machine. Now anti-backlash screws have actually a spring, they're quite longer, and an end cap, and when you put them on you actually put them together and put them over your rod and then screw in, and one locks into the, pretty simple. You'll know as soon as you see them how they fit on. They won't go on any other way unless you push them together with a spring in between, and that's the anti-backlash. This is the normal one. Well, as I pointed out on the earlier videos, when it comes, just look at the play. It was absolutely ridiculous. You could press on that, look, it was ridiculous. There's none of that now on there. It's rock solid. As I say, it's a very good machine. I've had some absolutely excellent prints off these. Now when you purchase your anti-backlash screws, you can actually get them separate now. You don't have to buy the rods, but I didn't know at the time that the rods would be different. I thought there could be a slight difference in the threads, how they've been cut, so I'll buy them together, and they're only about £8. But that actually sits, if you can see those, just let me get something to point with. I use my tweezers. Right, you can see the 4 bolts there, nuts and bolts. Those are the nuts and bolts that you have to replace. This sat underneath, the original ones sat underneath, and because these holes here are threaded, then this is the, you can see that it's a threaded Allen screw. So 4 of those going from the top, and that actually holds the original anti-backlash screw in, or rather not an anti-backlash screw but the original one. Now what you will need, I'll just get them is what you will need to purchase are 8 3mm, and I think the length of them is the 3mm diameter by 12mm. So you want 8 3mm by 12mm. You can have Phillips, Allen, whatever you want, providing they're that size. They're stainless steel. I have a load of these in stock, so. And you need a nut. You want 8 nuts. Now they're captive nuts, if you look. They're not locking nuts. They're captive nuts. They have like a washer built onto them with a grippy surface at the back, and it's very difficult to focus on it, but and you want 8 of those. That's all you need extra, and your anti-backlash screws. And obviously your new anti-backlash screws have to go in here, but when you get these, the new anti-backlash screws, there are no threads in there. There weren't on mine, and I believe the majority of them don't have them threads in. So the reason why I say 3mm is because they will screw in there, so they're obviously using the same size hole as what's on there, but these will pass through your new anti-backlash screws. I mean, if they came threaded, it'd be even easier because you could use the original ones, but I don't know of any that come threaded. So you need, as I say, you need 8 bolts and 8 nuts, and that's it. And the way you get out of where you deal with it, as I just move you a bit closer now, just bear with me. Right, the first thing you have to do is this gantry here, just put something underneath it to support it, to stop it dropping down, that's all. And basically all I used were 2 pieces of the same size wood, and I just put it underneath, lifted it up a bit and then pushed it back down so it sat on it, that's all. It only needs to rest on it. Then once you've done that, is the next step to do. You need these rods out, okay, and they come out pretty easy. So what you do is you actually move your machine over to the edge of a table so that this motor is over the edge. You can do it. What you do then is, on the base of your rod, your Z rod, you find 2 Allen screws there. One there, one there. One locks your motor to that, to the locking collar, and one locks the rod to the locking collar. Okay, so then they both become one. So what you have to do is disconnect your motor by disconnect the cable, and what I did was I undid just the ball screw one, just the Z-rod screw, which is that one. Undo that one, undo those 4 Allen key bolts. Your stepper motor will drop out. Once that drops out, just keep hold of your rod, because they're that loose of the original Z-rod screws that they'll just come straight out. They'll just start unscrewing. Drop your motor out. Once you've done that, hold this, and that will then, you can leave that in place, undo your 4 little Allen screws on top, which are the black ones that I showed you. You can then drop that out. When that collar gets down to there, right? Just be careful, it does fit through, but what I did was drop your rod out, and then this will be left on top. So you've got that and your rod. Now you're going to use your rod again, so that ain't a problem. So get your nuts and bolts, make sure they're all ready, 4 for each side. And what I do on one side is straightforward on the other side. Just a bit fiddly at first. Right. Once you've done that, you've got your rod out and your old Z-axis screw. Then get your new anti-backlash. Put your rod through here. It's over the table, so you can do that. Put your rod through and put your anti-backlash screw together. You can actually, on mine, I actually put them on the rod and put them up through the hole, because they do fit through the hole down there. These will fit through that hole. And then once you've actually inserted your rod inside your new anti-backlash screw, then obviously it's like this, but it has a spring over that collar and a bottom part, and you push them together and they're locked together, and then you put them over the new rod. I mean, I haven't got any to show you, and you can't actually see them in here, what they look like. Now what I found out is when I'm inserting these in there, the whole rod will pass through the base of this with the new anti-backlash on. Once you've done that, you can actually insert your screws through the holes. They have to go that way up as the nuts and bolts are there. You'd never get the nuts on, there isn't room anyway. So then you insert those, 4 of them, into the holes pointing up of your anti-backlash. Now when you do that, you'll find the spring actually sits against these and it holds them in place. So then insert your rods further up with your 4 screws in and your anti-backlash, and you only need a small amount sticking out at the top, and as you push them through, just line your screws up. It's very simple to do. Once you've got one through, just put a nut on and then move it till the other one comes through. On one of mine I had to just put a pair of tweezers up underneath and just gently push the screw, and it came through. They all came through easy enough. Put the 4 nuts on, and then what I did then was I pulled the screw up and then just did that on each one. Tighten them up, or rather don't tighten them yet, just nip them down, that's it. And what you do on this side is you do on the other side. It's no different, it's identical. So once you've put and done that in place, then that rod will stop where it is. It won't drop down like it did on the originals. Go back to your stepper motor, insert your stepper motor back and put it back on the rod. On mine you could see the mark where it had gone on the original rod, so I just roughly lined it up. It didn't make that much difference because it does level itself, because there's 2 micro switches there, one on either side. So once you've done that, put that back in, insert it back in, make sure it goes down fully, and tighten that back up. Once you've done that, put your screws in, tighten that back up and clip your wire back in, and that's it. Really simple replacement. When you've done the other side, then what I found out is there's very little play, very minute play in these nuts and bolts. So I realised then, because obviously what I didn't want to do was tighten this up if it wasn't central in the hole, but it was. So I checked them out once I'd done the other side, and then I finally nipped them up, and that's it. Took the spacers out, put the machine back on, and just told it to home. It went down, homed itself, and then I did my first print. And as you can see, you do that on the original one, you'll push that down. I mean, because when you lean through the machine sometimes to do this, your extruder, you've only touched that and it dropped down. This doesn't do that now. And as you can see from the back of this printer, it's well made. That's right, for the value for money. And as I say, this is the other side, done the same. Move it over to the edge of the table and do exactly the same as what you did at that side. Because you know what you're doing with that side, it's even easier to do this side. And as I say, what you've got to remember is that the spring that sits over that holds your screws in the hole. I mean, ideal situation would be to have your new anti-backlash screws threaded, but unfortunately they don't come threaded. I mean, I possibly could have tapped the holes out on the new ones and then and used nuts and bolts from the top, but I didn't. But that is another option. Whatever the hole, I think it'd be 4mm. You'd have to get 4mm, make sure that your bolts would pass through these, but if they don't, 4mm, I mean, and I can't say now whether they would, wouldn't be that easy to drill them out, and last thing you want to do is take those out. You don't want to disturb too much, and the way I did it, you didn't. It took me under an hour to replace both, and it worked perfectly after that. So I'm just hoping the insight into replacing these you can understand, for the people that's asked, because I mean, I was a maintenance engineer, so doing things like this is nothing with the machinery that I had to strip down and repair. But not everybody's the same, you know. Some people struggle with anything like that and good in other ways, so it just helps you a little bit in order to do it. Don't rush it. All the time in the world, really. Don't rush it. And as I say, there's only on each side there's one screw, one plug for the stepper motor, 4 screws for the stepper motor, 1 screw for the locking collar, and that's it. Don't undo that one because that will come down. So, and as I say, that will sit back in there. You tighten that back up and your 4 screws to replace, and that's it. So I'm hoping this helps. As I say, this I mean, when you look at the build of this, it's not a light printer, and for the money and for some of the printers that you get out there, I'm not a lover of printers that don't have dual Z-axis. I like dual Z-axis, and this was one for the money. Well worth it. As I say, I only print PLA on this, but it does print ABS. I've no need to because I've other machines running for that. But I'm on at the moment with doing the next thing. I'm going to do a video on the laser unit. I said I would. It's on, actually on at the front now, but I'm going to be making that in a couple of hours. So bear with me, and I'll just turn you around. Whoops, and I'm back now. As I say, just take your time. All you need is 2 anti-backlash screws and 4 12mm by 3mm diameter. You need 8 of those screws and 8 bolts. That's it. I'd like to know if anybody does it and replaces it and enjoys watching the video. Please give me some feedback. It'd be really pleasing to hear that somebody's actually done this and agrees with me that that's what the machine needs. And as I said before, why Anycubic didn't put those on from the start, I don't know. For what they cost, you pay extra for it. It saves you time, and it makes it a far better printer, far more accurate printer. So, as I say, thanks for listening. Subscribe if you like my videos, and what's more, stay safe. It's a bad world out there at the moment, so please stay safe and look after yourself. Bye for now.